Without shots that show what your subject is talking about, it can be hard to keep the interest of your viewers. That's where B-roll comes in. With these shots, you can ensure that your documentary is both understandable and it captivates your audience.
It's often surprising how much of a difference good B-roll can make to a documentary. It helps you keep a good pace, cover mistakes, and dive even deeper into your story. To help you shoot good B-roll, we'll go over some tips on how to direct and capture people and how to make sure you cover live events in a way that makes your documentary interesting and informative.
More often than not, your B-roll will involve capturing people doing everyday tasks. Even so, in order to make sure you get the kinds of shots that will tell your story, you want to spend some time putting together a goal list. This way, you won't waste any time capturing events that won't further the story of your film.
Much like film, you'll often need to help your subjects overcome camera shyness by having them do familiar tasks or by recounting conversations they've had earlier. In certain cases, when changing locations, you can even step in to remind them what they were feeling before the move. Similar to interviews, you'll want to remind your subject not to look at the camera or to worry about any mistakes. The footage can always be cleaned up later.
To avoid this kind of behavior, make sure you shoot in familiar environments, try not to talk with the subjects, make small movements, and get some distance between you and the subject when possible.